Professor, nice to have you here again in Mexico and to talk about the situation in Israel and about hospitals. First of all, how is now in the north? Because we know that Gaza is there, Lebanon it's like something we don't know, and Syria it can be from one day to another a change. So how do you see it now in the north of Israel?
So no doubt the current situation it's quiet, but there is lots of tension, and we know that everything is extremely fragile, like you said. So it's fragile in the south. Nobody knows what will be the next development. Obviously, what will happen with the kidnapped that must return with the settlement. And then the question is about the north, because as everybody knows, Israel still has strongholds in Lebanon, and there's many issues around that, and you know, things can develop really rapidly in the area. You mentioned Syria, you mentioned Iran, all those things, you know, maybe as usual in Israel, but we have to be prepared for any development that will happen in the area.
How do you prepare? Because we know last time we talked, there was, let's say, a kind of peace with Syria, with Lebanon. It was some attacks, but it was more or less peace. Right. But now we just passed another war. There are changes in Syria. We are seeing what they are doing with their people, and nobody knows if they are going to attack someday Israel or not. Also in Lebanon. No? How do a hospital prepare to the new situation, to the new era?
Right. So no doubt, after 7th of October, with the horrific events,
yes.
The Middle East is totally different now. But again, it's not things are not done. You know, it says yes. It's not finished until the fat lady sings. So as you saw before when I came here the previous time, I showed you the capabilities of the yes. hospital with the biggest underground hospital in the world, and obviously during the last war we used it. Altogether we had about 1,000 casualties, civilian and soldiers,
yes.
coming into Rambam.
1,000?
1,000, yeah. And
it's a lot of it.
Yeah, it's a lot, but still, you know, it was a big war.
Just from the war?
Or missile attacks and everything, yes. Everything right. connected to the war.
To the war, yes.
Right. Right. So obviously we have the capabilities, and if need to be, we know now that this solution of the underground hospital is an amazing solution for the right scenario, and if anything develops in the north, with again missile threats on the area of Haifa, we will have to reinitiate the underground hospital. It is currently back into a parking lot mode, but during September, October, for about 6 weeks, it was a full hospital.
A full hospital with yes. all the services.
Yes,
that's what I want.
After the 22nd of September, when there was
when it started the war against
Lebanon, we were ordered to mobilize all the patients, and within 8 hours we mobilized 850 patients,
wow.
intensive care patients, into the underground, deserting the above ground hospital, and without any miss event. So we know that we have the capabilities, we know that we have the solution, and that allows us to continue to work regularly. Obviously now, we work like a regular hospital, but having all the system ready for any kind of development.
Is there a difference working like a hospital in a normal time in Israel than during the war? It's different because you told me there were 1,000 people that you attended there. It's different, you have to concentrate in other areas.
Right.
How do you do that?
So obviously using the underground hospital is bring us some challenges. These challenges because it's an open space, privacy, and how the quality of care, we should not reduce the quality of care. And again, we continue to get patients, and we got, you know, I have an amazing video clip because on 7th of October, it was a Saturday, and it was a holiday, right?
Yes.
It was Simchat Torah, and 80% of the staff that was working in that day were non-Jewish, and
Right.
and you can see that the effect of the coexistence, because we had no issues during all this time, and you know, Jews, non-Jewish staff were working shoulder to shoulder in order to fulfill the mission that we have to treat patients. I can tell you a small story that one day when casualties, soldiers came from the north into Rambam, I saw one of the male nurse in the emergency room, a Muslim guy, goes to each and every soldier that came in that was obviously awake and say, thank you for protecting us. So, you know, we work together. We obviously, from the beginning, we understood that this can be volatile, and we had teams that were working with the staff, and we managed to continue. And at the same time, a few of the members of family of the staff got wounded, were killed, and obviously that had major effect on the atmosphere of the hospital.
Tell me something. Did you attend some people that got hurt in the 7th of October? Did you? Because the amount of people that there were, I don't know if all the south hospitals and the middle, or did somebody go to the hospital on 7th of October? How was the response there?
Yeah. So obviously 7th of October was extremely challenging for the healthcare system in the south of Israel. It was overwhelming for any system, and once we didn't really understand, but we got a rough idea of what's going on there. We asked the Ministry of Health to send us patients, casualties from there, and by that Saturday evening we started to get helicopters with secondary triage into Rambam soldiers that came over, and throughout the first week we continued to get soldiers from the south that were dispersed in all the hospitals around Israel. Rambam is the biggest trauma center in Israel,
yes,
and we have excellence in trauma, and obviously we took part of treating those patients.
What do you mean when you refer to trauma? Because in Mexico, when you think about trauma, you think a mental health trauma.
Right. So obviously trauma, I mean the organic trauma, so injuries. Most of the injuries that we see is usually the same like in Mexico, like car accidents, fall from height, but obviously during this year we had many casualties coming from wars or injuries from missiles and all the rest.
How was the environment in Rambam after 7th of October? How was it? Can you explain us? Because it was hard for all Israel, but how was it in Rambam?
So I think like all over the world, I think 7th of October, the horrific, you know, events affected us all. Affected us obviously in Israel, because you know the circles are big in Israel. You know someone that knows someone, or even directly. But at the same that in diaspora, I think that the effect of 7th of October on the Jews around the world was also immense. I think that in a way we took Israel a little bit for granted, because we thought Israel is strong, and Israel obviously economically was very good, land of the innovation, and obviously on the military side. And we learned that we have to be humble, and we have to still understand that Israel is still fragile, and we, for the sake of obviously Israel, but all the Jews around the world, Israel needs to continue to be strong.
One of the things that are more challenges now in Israel after 1 year and some months after the 7th of October, it's mental health. That maybe it was considered, it's Rambam changing something about it, it's preparing different, because there will be soldiers, but also there are people that say it couldn't happen. How is this?
So one needs to first understand, the mental issues didn't start on October 7th. It started before with COVID.
All right.
We all forgot COVID, but during COVID, for 2 years, children did not go to school, people do not work,
Yes.
there were many issues, so we could already feel the events or the emotional response of the event of COVID in Israel. And then obviously 7th of October. And this is huge event on the atmosphere of Israel. I'm not talking about only soldiers that were fighting, but families, people that were misplaced. Some families were misplaced for a year and a half. Think of it. You live in your house and something happens and you have to leave your house for a year and a half.
Yes.
And you cannot go back. And even though you live in a hotel or something like this, it's not the same. So people had to be dispersed, hundreds of thousands has to be dispersed, and this is obviously a big issue. So all of us understand that the after effect of event like this will be a variety of emotional responses. So we opened clinics initially now in the hospital, but in order to prevent stigma of having psychiatric problem, we are opening in 3 months a clinic in a mall not far from Rambam that will provide for everyone the support in order to prevent long-term effect of all the emotional response like PTSD and other stuff. I'm also a director of a psychiatric hospital at the entrance of Halberthal. It's another 240 beds of psychiatry hospital and another 600 staff. And also from the hospital, we outreach to the community, and we open a clinic that will be available for whoever needs any kind of support. Soldiers, family of soldiers, and other people that were affected by the events. And there is no doubt a huge impact on what's going on in Israel. So we are preparing all the solution. Still, the major solution around it is professional staff, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists that Israel has problem with, and we are looking for all kind of a solution. Also, virtual treatment.
That's what I want.
So also looking at all those options in order to build a holistic solution for all the emotional response.
Somebody tell us that there are not enough psychologists and therapists in Israel, that they are looking for people around the world. Is this really happening? Are you looking? You talk now about something about internet, some digital, some virtual. Is there a necessity in Israel about doctors, about physiology? Do they need it? It's an option for people who are doing it. It's an option to say, I want to make Aliyah, and that's an option because they need it. How is it now? Because
first, we need everyone. There's no doubt. We are happy to have Aliyah. And obviously, yes, you're right. There is problem of the staff, the number of professional staff in those areas in Israel, probably due to many years of neglect, because of the salaries that the government pays for all those areas, and they made many changes, but again, we can use every help that we can get.
something.